Hey there everybody, welcome to the weekly comment. My name is Grant Hurst, and this week I am commenting, once again, not on a news story, but rather this week I am replying to a YouTube video from the Cynical Historian in his video called A Diatribe about Are There Multiple Californias? Link to his video in the description, the cards, and on the end screen of this video. So, at the end of his video he asked a question. Do you think there are multiple Californias? And my answer is an emphatic yes. Yes, there are. Now, I feel strongly saying this, of course, because I am from California. I currently still live in California. However, I am not from the part of California that most people not from California think of when they're thinking of California. Most outsiders, when they think of California, they're thinking of the San Francisco Bay Area or the Los Angeles area. Well, I'm not from either of those places. I am from Central California. This is a place that is very culturally distinct from the rest of the state. Central California has, I think, far more in common, culturally and especially politically speaking, with, say, the Midwest or even the Great Plains states than it does the rest of California. I'm not 100% certain if I should really call it rural. There are rural areas, but I would say Central California is far more suburban than rural. And it's suburban areas that are interspersed between seas of farms, and most of these farms, of course, are orchards. You know, like if you've eaten an almond anytime in the last, 25 years, it was probably grown in the Central Valley. Now, something else I want to touch on was something brought up by Cypher in his video about multiple Californias. That was this NorCal-SoCal divide. And this is a divide this is like the only divide in California really recognized by outsiders, but I would have to say there's more than, of course, obviously there's more than this divide. I told you there was, Central California, but even within the state of California, the NorCal-SoCal divide is more of a coastal dichotomy rather than something across the whole state. It's like if you are from what Cypher referred to as the Central Coast, or if you're from sort of the San Francisco Bay Area, then this idea of NorCal-SoCal is far more prominent. In these areas, you go into souvenir shops and you'll see, NorCal or SoCal shirts depending on which part you're from. But if you go to the Central Valley, you don't see that stuff in souvenir shops. Now, granted, there aren't a whole bunch of souvenir shops, or at least there's no souvenir shops that are just saying, hey, this is a souvenir shop all about this city. No. The only souvenir places we have are with specific places you're going to, mostly farms. As someone from Central California, this whole NorCal-SoCal dichotomy is something that is kind of ridiculous, because from the perspective of Central Californians, the people we call, Bay Area people are the ones that others think of as NorCal, and then the SoCal people are still SoCal to us. And from our perspective, they're both left-leaning crazy people. And from the perspective of Central Californians, we get really frustrated with the Bay Area and Southern California. For one, of course, there's always this idea that, they're stealing our water, with constant attempts to acquire, Central Valley water rights. Of course, the fact that we complain about them stealing our water is funny because our water comes from, Colorado, but whatever, details. But even more so, the fact that the Central Valley is far more politically conservative than most of the rest of the state. The very northern regions, the areas that are calling themselves Jefferson, might have us beat out in terms of conservatism. But despite the fact that we don't like the people, or at least we are not big fans of the people from the Bay Area in Southern California. Because it often feels like the state government doesn't care about the Central Valley at all. They pass laws and implement policies that are detrimental to the Central Valley. I mean, the Central Valley, California, especially the county where I live in, is one of the poorest, not just in the state of California, but in the entire United States. We have lower graduation levels than some inner cities. We also have far fewer bachelor's degrees. We're far below the national average, which is about 33-ish%, give or take, around the United States of bachelor degrees. In the county where I live, Stanislaus, it's about 16 or 17%. You know, like half the national average. And the state government up in Sacramento doesn't do things that actually help us. You know, they're constantly diverting our water elsewhere that is used for the biggest industry in the area, which is agriculture. And from our perspective, the whole state is controlled by San Francisco and LA liberals who don't give a shit about people here. And I remember a few years back when that investor guy, Tim Draper, was trying to push through his Six Californias initiative. I was a very big supporter of that. In fact, I was a supporter of it to the point where I got this printed up and went around my community college showing people, hey, this is what we could do. We could become our own state. And if you look around my hometown today and around the county where I live, Stanislaus, you're actually finding the state of Jefferson flag everywhere. Because in fact, the state of Jefferson movement is actually trying to expand what includes the state of Jefferson to include Stanislaus, which even by the Tim Draper plan was not contiguous with Jefferson. So clearly the Jefferson movement is trying to include more and more of the conservative areas of California. And that's something I think California should look more into, because the fact of the matter is, we are a state that's taken advantage of financially. Presidential candidates come out to California, you know, they go out to LA or Silicon Valley, they raise some money from the wealthy donors there, and then they go out and spend it everywhere else. California is nothing more than a piggy bank for both Republican and Democratic presidential candidates, and neither of them have to spend any time in the state for any reason other than getting money. Because the state, as it is now, will go to the Democrats every time, unless the Republican running was like governor of the state. So anyways, to conclude with the initial question, yes, there are multiple Californias. I don't know if I would tell you to visit the one I'm from, because quite frankly, there's not a whole lot to see. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.